Have you ever looked at a really successful company and wondered, what's their secret? What separates a flimsy idea from a business that's built like a skyscraper? Well, a lot of the time, it really just comes down to the plan. So I want you to think of a business's financial model not as some boring spreadsheet, but as an architect's blueprint. It's the detailed design that determines if it's going to stand strong or just crumble. And that leads us to the big question, right? Is your business or that brilliant idea you've been kicking around truly built to last? I mean, does its financial structure have the integrity to weather storms, to actually support growth and stand the test of time? Because let's be real, a great idea is one thing, but a great blueprint, that's everything. So here's how we're gonna break this down. First, we'll look at the whole idea of the business blueprint. Then, we're gonna get into the details, designing your revenue streams and analyzing your cost structure. After that, we'll talk about the real art form here, balancing those two to build a business that is truly resilient. Okay, let's get into it. Every single successful business, I don't care if it's a local coffee shop or a massive global tech company, has a strong financial backbone. This is the core logic of how the business actually makes money. And it's so much more than just numbers on a page. It's the fundamental design for how you create value and, just as importantly, how you capture it. Now we get to the fun part, the design. If your financial model is the blueprint, then your revenue streams are the huge, grand pillars that hold the entire structure up. They give it strength, they give it its shape, and they provide the support for everything else you want to build. So, what kind of pillars can you actually build? Well, think of them like different architectural styles. You could go with subscription models for that steady, predictable month-after-month support, like Netflix. Or maybe you'd use licensing fees, kind of like how Microsoft sells its software, where you're granting access to parts of your structure. And of course, there's the transaction-based approach, where every single sale, like a purchase on Amazon, is another solid brick you're adding to the pillar. And this is where you really have to start thinking about your own project. Which of these pillars, or maybe what combination of them, is actually going to support the specific goals of your organization? Getting this choice right is absolutely fundamental to your entire design. All right, let's talk about what's holding all this up. Any great architect will tell you a building is only as strong as its foundation. In business, that solid ground you're building on, that's your cost structure. It might not be as glamorous as those big revenue pillars, but trust me, without a solid foundation, everything is at risk. So your cost structure is basically all the expenses you need to keep the lights on and keep the business running. You got your fixed costs, like rent, that's the solid bedrock that doesn't really change. And then you have variable costs, like raw materials, which depend on how much you're producing. But here's the absolute key, and you can't miss this. The goal isn't just to slash costs. It's to find efficiencies, to make your foundation leaner and stronger, but without ever compromising the value of the amazing structure you're building on top of it. Okay, so we've got our pillars and our foundation. Now comes the real magic. This is where the architectural genius truly lies. It's not just in the individual parts, but in the elegant, powerful relationship between them. This, my friends, is the art of balance. And this illustrates it perfectly. You've got these two forces at play. On one side, you have this upward force of generating income. That's your revenue pushing everything up. And on the other, you've got the downward pressure of your expenses, your costs. A truly successful business is one where that upward force consistently, day in and day out, overcomes the downward one. And look, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It is this intentional balance that lets you maximize profitability, making sure what you've built is valuable while also maintaining operational effectiveness, which ensures the structure itself is sound and stable. It's two sides of the same coin. And when you nail that balance, when you truly master it, that's when you get the real prize, a resilient business. You're not just building for today's market anymore. You're designing a financial model that can adapt, that can evolve, and that can endure for the long term. So let's wrap this up with a simple, actionable checklist. Number 1, intentionally design your revenue pillars. 2, meticulously analyze your cost foundation. 3, make it your absolute mission to master the balance between the two. And finally, number 4, use that mastery to build for true, lasting financial resilience. So, as you step into the role of the architect for your own projects, I'll leave you with this question to think about. What is the single most important element you will design to ensure your financial future isn't just built, but built to last?